Okay, so ready to dive into shifting consciousness? Awesome. But maybe you're feeling a little like overwhelmed with all the different ideas out there, right? Ancient wisdom and modern physics and all these like personal experiences.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
It really is. And that's why we're doing this deep dive today.
Exactly.
So we're going to be looking at this fascinating conversation between Alex Ferrari, the filmmaker, and Robert Edward Grant, the researcher. And by the end, you'll see how these like totally separate areas are actually like deeply connected.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And we're not just going to like skim the surface here.
No way.
We're going to pull out the most thought-provoking stuff,
Yeah.
analyze the core concepts, and we'll leave you with some pretty intriguing questions.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it all starts with Alex Ferrari's journey
Yeah.
from like Hollywood filmmaker
Yeah.
to spiritual podcast host.
That's wild.
I mean, this guy was working with like A-list actors and billion-dollar producers. He even had a brush with the mob.
It's quite a story.
Yeah.
It really is. But the interesting thing is why he made this like huge shift.
Yeah. Yeah.
According to Ferrari, he felt this like deep calling, to explore spirituality. He actually resisted it at first.
Really?
Yeah, imagine that. A spiritual podcast in Hollywood.
Whoa. Talk about a career risk.
Right.
Totally. But here's where it gets really interesting. So Ferrari had this spiritual guide
Okay.
who told him that he had just 3 weeks to launch the podcast before Easter of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah. So much pressure, especially given the potential backlash, right? I mean,
Yeah, he could have lost everything.
exactly. He was worried about damaging his reputation and losing everything he'd built in the film industry. It makes sense.
It
He
does.
already created 2 successful film podcasts, too.
Right. Indie Film Hustle
Yeah,
and Bulletproof Screenwriting.
exactly. And he was used to, like, churning out content super fast.
Yeah.
So this new venture was, like, a massive leap of faith.
Huge leap of faith.
So initially, he started slowly,
Right.
releasing episodes every other week. But around Christmas of 2021, his spiritual guide gave him another powerful message.
Oh, wow. What was that?
Yeah, I was like, dude, you got to fully commit or the universe is going to find someone else.
Whoa, talk about a cosmic push.
I know, right? So what did he do?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Well, he went all in. He built a new set, upgraded his equipment, and committed to producing high-quality content on a consistent schedule.
Wow. So he like really stepped up.
He did, and the results were pretty amazing.
Okay.
He went from a small subscriber base to over 770,000 subscribers and millions of views across multiple channels in just a couple of years.
That's incredible.
It is. Clearly, his message resonated with a lot of people.
It did. And, one key takeaway from his success, I think, is that authenticity really matters.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're exploring these like unconventional topics, staying true to yourself can attract a huge audience.
Right. And that authenticity really shines through in his conversation with Robert Edward Grant.
Yeah.
They cover a wide range of fascinating topics.
That-
But one of the most intriguing, I think, is this idea that there are recurring themes across different spiritual traditions and even scientific disciplines.
Yeah, like there's this hidden language,
Totally.
this universal truth that goes beyond cultural and historical boundaries.
Exactly. And one of the most prevalent themes that Ferrari observed was reincarnation.
Oh, interesting.
Almost every guest on his show, regardless of their background, accepted reincarnation as a fundamental aspect of reality.
And that ties into the idea of an eternal soul, right?
Yes.
If we're constantly being reborn, it suggests that we're more than just our physical bodies. We are souls on this journey of learning and growth.
It's mind-blowing. It really makes you wonder, what's the purpose of it all? Why are we here? What are we supposed to learn?
These are questions that have puzzled philosophers and spiritual seekers for centuries. But what's interesting is how Ferrari connects these ancient questions to the modern idea that we might be living in a simulation.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. Both Ferrari and Grant agree that we are living in a simulation, but not in the like dystopian Matrix kind of way.
Right. It's not like that.
No.
Ferrari uses the analogy of a video game.
Okay.
He suggests that we're like characters in a game controlled by our higher selves who are playing multiple games or lives at the same time.
Okay, I love that analogy. So we're all playing different characters in this grand cosmic video game.
Exactly. And this perspective can be really helpful in understanding challenging experiences.
How so?
They become opportunities for growth chosen by our higher selves for a specific purpose.
So even those like difficult or painful experiences are not happening to us.
Right.
But for us, they're part of a larger plan, a cosmic curriculum designed to help our souls evolve.
It's a powerful way to reframe our understanding of life's challenges.
It really is. And it raises some interesting questions.
Definitely. Like, how does this perspective change the way you view your own difficulties?
Hmm.
Do you see them as obstacles or opportunities?
That's a great question for our listeners to consider. But before we get too deep into that, let's talk about another fascinating concept that Ferrari and Grant explore, the quadrivium.
The quadrivium. Okay. So that's an ancient system of knowledge that encompasses arithmetic, geometry, music, and cosmology.
Wow.
And it's not just some dusty relic from the past. Grant believes that the quadrivium holds the key to unlocking a higher state of consciousness.
Okay, so how does this ancient system connect to our modern understanding of the world?
Well, Grant has developed what he calls the polymath calculator.
Okay.
It's a tool that demonstrates the interconnectedness of these four disciplines. You can input a geometric shape, for example, and see how it translates into a musical note or a mathematical equation.
So you're saying that there's a mathematical relationship between geometry and music? That's incredible.
It is, and it gets even more fascinating when you consider cymatics.
Cymatics.
Yeah, the study of how sound frequencies create visible patterns. Essentially, sound waves can create intricate geometric shapes.
Hold on, so you're saying that sound can literally shape matter?
In a way, yes. And this concept has profound implications. It suggests that the universe is not a random collection of objects, but a symphony of vibrations, a dance of energy and form.
That's mind-blowing. It's like the universe is speaking multiple languages, and the quadrivium is a way to understand those languages.
Precisely. And by learning these languages, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe.
So the quadrivium is like a roadmap to a higher state of consciousness. But what does that actually look like? What kind of experiences or abilities might we access as we expand our awareness?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Ferrari and Grant explore some pretty far-out concepts, including levitation and quantum jumping.
Okay, now we're really getting into the deep end. Tell me more about these superpowers.
Okay, so they present these abilities not as parlor tricks or science fiction, but as potential byproducts of heightened consciousness. For example, they discuss levitation in the context of yogic philosophies and stories of masters who have allegedly achieved this feat.
So they're suggesting that levitation is not a supernatural phenomenon, but a skill that can be developed through intense mental and spiritual training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they caution against pursuing these abilities for egotistical reasons. True spiritual growth is not about showing off. It's about expanding our consciousness and connecting with something greater than ourselves.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Right.
And it's about using our abilities for the greater good, not for personal gain.
Now, when it comes to quantum jumping, Ferrari describes it as a way to access information from other lifetimes or parallel realities. He even shares a personal anecdote about a photo from 1894 that shows a man who looks strikingly similar to him, potentially hinting at past lives or alternative timelines.
Wow, that's incredible. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about time and reality.
It does. And that's what makes these conversations so fascinating. They challenge our assumptions and open our minds to a world of possibilities that we might never have considered before.
It's like they're saying, hey, the universe is far stranger and more mysterious than you ever imagined, and you are capable of far more than you realize.
Exactly. But as we explore these possibilities, it's important to remember that we are not alone on this journey.
Right. We are all interconnected, and we are all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
And that's something that Ferrari and Grant emphasize throughout their conversation. They talk about the shifting landscape of society, the disintegration of traditional institutions, and the rise of a new consciousness.
So how do these global shifts tie into the concept of shifting consciousness? What's the connection?
Well, they observe that traditional gatekeepers like governments, universities, and religions are kind of losing their hold on society.
Yeah, it's like the old systems are crumbling and something new is like emerging.
Exactly. And they see this as a direct result of, the rising consciousness. They believe that as more people awaken to their true potential, they naturally question the authority of institutions that no longer align with their values.
So it's not just about personal transformation. It's about a collective shift, a movement towards a new way of being.
Right. And they point to the entertainment industry as a prime example of this shift. Just a few decades ago, Hollywood studios controlled what we watched, listened to, and read.
Yeah, they were the gatekeepers, deciding which stories got told and who got to tell them. But now, with the rise of the internet and independent platforms like YouTube and Spotify, that control has diminished.
Think about it. You, as a learner, can relate to this. You have access to information and creative tools that previous generations could only dream of. You can learn from experts around the world, connect with like-minded individuals, and share your own unique perspective with a global audience.
It's amazing. The barriers to entry have been shattered, and the power has shifted from a select few to the masses.
And this democratization of information has had a profound impact on our consciousness. We're no longer passively consuming what's being fed to us. We're actively seeking out information, questioning the status quo, and forming our own opinions.
It's like we're waking up from a collective slumber and starting to see the world with fresh eyes.
Exactly. And as we awaken, we're becoming more aware of the interconnectedness of all things. We're realizing that we're not separate individuals, but part of a vast web of life.
And that realization is leading to a growing sense of empathy, compassion, and responsibility for the planet and for each other.
But this shift in consciousness isn't always easy. It can be challenging and even disruptive as we confront our own biases, question long-held beliefs, and step outside of our comfort zones.
It's like we're going through a collective metamorphosis, a period of intense transformation that can be both exhilarating and terrifying.
It's true. And that's why Ferrari and Grant emphasize the importance of staying grounded, of finding balance amidst the chaos.
They encourage listeners to connect with their inner wisdom, to trust their intuition, and to seek out communities of support.
They also stress the importance of discernment, of developing the ability to distinguish between truth and falsehood, between hype and genuine insight.
Because as we navigate this new landscape of information and possibilities, it's essential to have a strong internal compass to guide us.
Right, and that compass is found within. We need to cultivate a healthy skepticism while remaining open to new ideas. We need to question everything, but also be willing to listen with an open mind.
It's about finding that sweet spot between critical thinking and intuition, between logic and faith.
And as we refine our ability to discern, we can start to see the patterns, the underlying connections that reveal a deeper truth about ourselves and the universe.
And that's where the wisdom of the ancients comes in. Ferrari and Grant delve into the concept of the quadrivium as a tool for understanding these patterns and connections.
They believe that the quadrivium provides a framework for seeing the universe as a unified whole, rather than a collection of separate parts.
And they draw parallels between these ancient principles and modern physics, highlighting the mathematical ratios and harmonic relationships that underlie both.
For example, they discuss how the principles of geometry can be seen in the structure of music, revealing the mathematical beauty that underpins both disciplines.
And they even talk about cymatics, which you mentioned earlier, how sound vibrations can literally create visible geometric patterns.
Imagine this. You have a metal plate covered in sand, and you play a specific frequency through a speaker. The sand on the plate will arrange itself into intricate geometric shapes corresponding to that frequency.
Whoa, that's so cool. It's like sound is a sculptor, shaping matter with its vibrations.
It is, and this visually demonstrates the interconnectedness of sound and form, energy and matter. And it provides a tangible example of how the seemingly separate disciplines of music and geometry are actually intertwined.
It's like the universe is whispering its secrets to us in a language we're just beginning to understand.
Exactly. And the more we learn to decipher these whispers, the more we realize just how profound and interconnected everything truly is.
So, through the lens of the quadrivium, we can begin to see the universe as a grand symphony, a cosmic dance of energy and form governed by mathematical principles and harmonic relationships.
And by understanding these principles, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the cosmos.
It's like the ancient Greeks were on to something profound. They understood that there's an underlying order to the universe, a harmony that connects all things.
And Ferrari and Grant believe that by tapping into this harmony, we can access hidden powers and abilities that lie dormant within us.
Like levitation and quantum jumping.
Yes. They see these abilities not as supernatural phenomena, but as natural extensions of our expanded consciousness, as capabilities that become accessible when we align ourselves with the underlying principles of the universe.
So they're suggesting that we all have the potential to tap into these extraordinary abilities.
They believe so. And they point to stories of yogis and mystics throughout history who have allegedly achieved such feats through dedicated practice and mental discipline.
But they also caution against pursuing these powers for egotistical reasons.
Right. True spiritual growth is about transcending the limitations of the ego, not inflating it. It's about expanding our consciousness to encompass a greater reality, not using it for personal gain or to manipulate others.
So it's not about seeking power over others, but about realizing the power within ourselves.
And that power comes from aligning ourselves with the universal principles of love, compassion, and unity.
So while they acknowledge the potential for chaos and disruption in the coming years, They also see it as an opportunity for growth and transformation.
They believe that as the old systems crumble, we have the chance to create a new world, one that is more aligned with our evolving consciousness.
A world where we recognize our interconnectedness and act with greater responsibility towards each other and the planet.
But they emphasize that this transformation begins within each of us.
It's about taking responsibility for our thoughts, feelings, and actions, and making conscious choices that align with our values and our vision for a better future.
And that brings us to the heart of their message, the power of love.
Love. But isn't that a bit too sentimental? I mean, we're talking about shifting consciousness, global transformation, big ideas.
It might sound sentimental, but they see love as a fundamental force that underpins all of creation. They believe that love is the key to healing ourselves, transforming our relationships, and creating a more just and compassionate world.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this love revolution.
They're not talking about romantic love or even like familial love. They're talking about a deeper, more universal love, a love that transcends boundaries and encompasses all beings.
So it's like a love for humanity, a love for the planet, a love for, the very essence of life itself.
Exactly. And they believe that this love is not just some abstract concept. It's a tangible force that we can cultivate within ourselves and radiate outwards into the world.
Okay, so how do we tap into this universal love? How do we make it a part of our daily lives?
Well, they suggest starting with self-love. They believe that by accepting ourselves, fully and completely, with all our flaws and imperfections, we create a foundation for loving others.
It's like the saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. If we don't love ourselves first, we can't truly love others.
Right. And they offer practical tools for cultivating self-love, such as mindfulness, meditation, and gratitude practices.
Mindfulness helps us to become more aware of our thoughts and feelings without judgment, allowing us to observe those negative self-talk patterns and choose to replace them with more loving and compassionate ones.
And meditation provides a space for us to connect with our inner stillness. We tap into that wellspring of love that resides within each of us.
And gratitude helps us to appreciate the good things in our lives, no matter how small, shifting our focus from lack to abundance.
Exactly. And as we cultivate self-love, we naturally start to radiate that love outwards into our relationships with others.
We become more compassionate, more understanding, more forgiving.
And that creates a ripple effect, touching the lives of everyone we encounter.
So it's like, by healing ourselves, we contribute to the healing of the world.
Precisely. And they believe that this collective healing is essential if we want to create a more just and sustainable future.
They also acknowledge that this transformation won't happen overnight. There will be challenges and setbacks along the way.
It's a process, an ongoing journey of growth and evolution.
And they encourage listeners to be patient with themselves, to embrace the imperfections of the journey, and to celebrate every step forward, no matter how small.
They remind us that we're not meant to be perfect. We're meant to be human, to make mistakes, to learn from our experiences, and to keep growing.
And they emphasize that we're not alone on this journey. We have each other, we have communities of support, and we have access to a wealth of wisdom and guidance from those who have walked this path before us.
So as we continue to explore the mysteries of shifting consciousness, let's remember to be kind to ourselves, to seek out connection and support, and to trust the unfolding of our own unique journey.
It's about embracing the unknown with curiosity and courage, and allowing ourselves to be transformed by the experiences that life throws our way.
And ultimately, it's about remembering that we are all connected. We are all part of something much larger than ourselves. And we all have a role to play in the creation of a more loving and compassionate world.
Well, that was quite a deep dive. We covered a lot of ground, from Hollywood to the quadrivium, from simulation theory to the power of love. I hope you found this exploration as insightful and inspiring as I did.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The journey of shifting consciousness is a lifelong adventure. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep growing.
And most importantly, keep shining your light. The world needs it. Now, if we are truly in a simulation, as Ferrari and Grant suggest, what does that mean for us? Does it change how we live our lives? Does it give us more freedom or less? That's something for you to ponder as you continue your own exploration of consciousness. Thanks for joining us.